Let's go.
All right, this is Lancer Library Radio. We're back, and we have Connor Elsey back in the studio. How are you, Mr. Elsey?
I'm doing all right. How you doing, Mr. Cataract?
I'm doing great. It's a beautiful day outside. It's bright and sunny. Yeah, I'm doing terrific. What is our show today?
Today we have our musical theme consists of instrumentals for the most part. This is a theme we've been wanting to do for like the past 2 weeks, but the past 2 weeks have been pretty crazy, so we've kind of pushed that off till now. And we also have two guests here, two great teachers at Waterford High School. We have Miss Gwudz, who's a PE teacher, as well as Miss Herr, who's a science teacher.
Yeah, that should be great. Last time I checked, you were at the march on, what was it, Saturday?
Yeah, so
tell us about that.
Yeah, it was a great experience. It really was. It was super peaceful. Besides what some parents in Waterford might tend to have you think. There were obviously moments of tension. I mean, there had to have been over 1,000, maybe 2,000 to 3,000 people there, marching for 5+ miles in like 80-degree weather. So obviously people are going to be pretty amped up. But I mean, besides spray painting a already bizarre statue of, why is Christopher Columbus even there? I went with a friend of mine, Dylan Kinsella, and his grandfather commissioned that statue to put up. And he told me as we watched it get vandalized, I'm really glad this thing is getting spray painted right now. And besides the one moment where, people freaked out because the statue got painted on, well, what people didn't realize was that spray paint didn't have primer in it. So it got power washed like an hour afterwards. Obviously, you don't want to vandalize public property, but it brought up a good discussion of should that statue be there, for what, Columbus represented. But it probably had over 2,000 plus people from all over the area. I knew a ton of people there. It was a 5-mile march throughout New London, kind of starting from the Whale Tail, going all the way down to Montauk Avenue, and kind of going back, going around, hitting numerous kind of major landmarks in that area. The 2 police stations, obviously, the Columbus statue, as well as other parts of New London. And yeah, it was a really powerful moment. It was one of the most unifying unified events I've ever been to. Really, it was a really great moment.
Wow. So for someone that's a little bit concerned about the corona, what was, in your estimation, what's the percentage of people wearing masks?
I would say above 80 to 90. I mean, it was rare not to see a mask. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay.
Everyone was playing it safe, and what was great too was this is a very much a community event. There were every kind of side road that our path met. there were a group of people driving up, dropping off, water and food and, medical supplies if anybody needed it, as well as masks. There were people just carrying boxes of masks around. If anyone didn't have it, you had one to play it safe, as well as water. I mean, it was super hot. I was wearing pants. I according to the radar that day, it was supposed to be cloudy and somewhat cooler, but it was actually like 80 and sunny with no clouds. So there was water everywhere. And yeah, it was a super kind of well-balanced event.
Wow. Did you, and it looked from the coverage that the day gave it that there was, obviously a large percentage of younger people, but did you see other age ranges in there? Did you see, or was it, 90% people in their 20s? What's your take on that?
Yeah. So honestly, it was pretty split up proportionally. I would say a third of the people were 20 and under, which is awesome to see, people my age be politically active like that. A third of them were definitely in their 20s, early 30s, but also a third of them were also proportionally like adults, a little bit older. So it was very well balanced when it comes to age wise, which is just awesome to see,
Wow. And, wow, that's great. And did you see other people from Waterford there?
Oh yeah. There were a lot of people from Waterford there. There was a ton of Waterford High School alumni were there. Some people who work for Waterford Public Schools were there. Relatives of people who work for our public schools, current members of Waterford High School were there. I saw a lot of my classmates there, which is great to see. Everyone made signs. It was just a sea of signs. And a lot of Waterford community members were there as well.
Wow, that's really great. So last show, I'd found out about this march that was going on in Waterford, and the times were a little bit screwy. The original website I went to said it was on June 13th, Saturday, but when you clicked on the link that they provided, a Facebook link, it said that it was in fact June 14th. On the Facebook page, it says Walk for Justice, hosted by Brianna Marie, who I think was I think I saw her on her page. It might have been a 2018 Waterford graduate. I'm not sure. The details on the Facebook page, and we'll put the link in our comments. We will be starting the walk at 12:30 p.m. Please get there at 12. Parking, Clark Lane Middle School and Stenger. For those of us that are not Waterford natives, Connor, is Stenger the park?
Yeah, so Stanger Park is right across the street from Clark Lane.
Oh, okay.
There's a dog park there and a bunch of hiking trails as well. So,
okay. The routes starting from Clark Lane Middle School and ending at Clark Lane Middle School. Water will be provided throughout the walk. We will be doing a moment of silence for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. That's difficult to read. Speeches will be held at Town Hall. Voter registration table and donation table will be located at Clark Lane. More water and snacks will also be provided at the Town Hall. All right, so I plan on being there for that. Are you going to be there as well?
absolutely, yeah. I'm pretty excited about it, honestly. My work schedule got changed this week, so I can now do our Monday show, and I'll also be present for this event. This event is mostly run, as well as Brianna. I don't know Brianna personally, but I do know Luther Wade, who is a class of 2018 graduate. He's
Sure.
very much been in charge of kind of organizing this event. Luther's an awesome dude. He's been very much involved in this, and he's been very vocal about it on social media. Which, if you follow Luther by any chance, make sure you share the stuff he's posting. Luther's a very smart person. He's a leader, a very hard worker. So it's great to see someone from the Waterford community really stand up for something that really means a lot to a lot of other people.
All right, that's great. So, something to consider. And because I'm an old man and I want everybody to be safe, just like the march that Connor went to, if you're there at the march, wear a mask. If you're not there at the march, wear a mask. Remember that I'm wearing my mask because I care about you. You're wearing your mask because you care about me. We don't have a lot of shows coming up, Connor, we're winding this thing down. What do we got coming up for the next 3 shows?
Yeah, so Friday show we have Miss Virtue, who's a Waterford High School teacher, as well as a good friend of mine. We have music teacher, the band teacher at Waterford High School, Mr. Fioravanti. I can't wait to mess with him on the air, because there are certain teachers, if many of you listening, who are once kids, obviously, there are teachers they like to mess with. And for me, Mr. Fioravanti, messing with him is a sport. So I can't wait to bring those antics live on the radio, of course. That'll be exciting to talk to him. And then Monday we have another teacher I'm very close with, another good friend of mine, Miss Collins. She was my English teacher my junior year, wicked smart lady, as well as Nehemia Clixday, who's in my grade as well, another good friend of mine as well. So that's gonna be a great show for Monday.
Yeah, that should be great. In fact, Ms. Collins and Miss Calix is it's BC. It's before Connor.
That's right. That's right. The first episode.
That's it. That was my pilot that I sold it to Mr. Giard, and I can't thank him enough for giving me the green light. I wasn't going to waste your time, Connor. If I didn't want to get your hopes up, I know that you're a sensitive young man, so I didn't want to pitch this to you until I got the okay to go ahead with it. So, and then history. So, and then Wednesday, the show we'll be putting out on Wednesday will be our last show. I think we've done, by that point, that'll be our 35th show. And Connor and I are going to be interviewing each other. So really, I know some people are reticent, reluctant, or they can't find the keyboard on their computer. But we would love to hear what questions you'd like us to ask each other. So we're going to spend a little while interviewing each other. So, send us your questions, and that's what we got. All right. We have, continuing with our instrumental show. What did we start off with?
Yeah, so that guy who we started off with was probably the most profound music producer in the hip hop world. That's a guy named Jay Dilla. What Jay Dilla is most famous for is sampling a lot of old jazz records and kind of bringing, a lot of the sounds of like Blue Note Records, for instance, and other prominent record labels into the 2000s. He kind of found Kanye West. Kanye's from Chicago. Jay Dilla's from Detroit. Jay Dilla used to travel everywhere and was very heavily involved in the Chicago scene. Unfortunately, he passed away, I think, in 2009. I think maybe 2006, actually. In that time period, he died at the age of 43 due to complications of diabetes. I believe it was. I could be wrong. I can look that up for a later point in our show. But his influence on music is huge. There's currently a huge movement in music, which I think every kid at my school is aware of, called lo-fi hip-hop. And those sounds that are really popular kind of originate from him. He's the starter of that. So he's a huge pivotal person when it comes to underground music as well as the hip-hop world today. Well,
as often happens in our show, Connor takes us into the 21st century, and I take us back. This is from 1957 from a guy named Bill Justice, and it's been copied a number of times. This is called Raunchy. That was Raunchy by Bill Justice and his orchestra from 1957. And, there's a lot of instrumentals that Connor and I had to choose from. And I almost didn't play this, but I just love this story. There was a young man in northern England. He went to go to this church fair. I'm going to get the dates wrong, so I won't even, I obviously I didn't prepare, so forgive me. He went to this church fair where, there's probably a lemonade stand someplace, and there was this skiffle group, which is this sort of hybrid of rockabilly and folk with, some folk with more rhythm, and basically folk because nobody could afford amplifiers. And he was really impressed by the lead singer, who couldn't figure out the words to some of the songs, and so he just made them up. And the guy going to the picnic, going to the church fair, that was Paul McCartney. The guy he was impressed by was John Lennon. And John Lennon was impressed by McCartney because McCartney could tune his guitar. And he was like, oh, this guy knows his stuff. And so he joined the group, the Quarrymen, as they were called at the time. And, I think Lennon was 17, Paul McCartney was 16. But Paul McCartney had this younger friend, who was a year younger than him, and he says he plays great guitar. So John Lennon's a little bit dubious because he's 16, 17, and this friend of Paul McCartney's is, 14 or 15. He's a little bit uncertain. Paul McCartney says he can play Raunchy, note for note. So they're up on the top of a double-decker bus going through Liverpool, and George Harrison passes his audition for the Quarrymen by playing Raunchy by Bill Justice. Note for note, the way Paul McCartney talks about it, you can still see that he's so proud of George for pulling this off, and John Lennon was like, yeah, okay, he's in the group. So I just, you got your stories, Connor, and I get mine. So anyway, all right, we are winding down we're going to finish off the class of 2020 roll call that we started somewhere in the early 80s or whenever that was. That's beautiful. Let's tone that down a little bit. We're almost towards the end. We'll only have 2 parts to it today, and then we'll finish it up. Class of 2020, Crystal Jean Villano.
Michael Mafazzo Vincent.
Lily Grace Watson.
Alexander Daniel Watterson.
Ethan Thomas Welch.
Elise Karen Wentz.
Haley Victoria Wheeler. All right. We'll put that there for now. And what do we got up next?
Yeah, up next, we're going to kind of continue that instrumental theme. This song isn't really that instrumental. There is a repeating chorus, but you know what? This is Mr. Carrot and I show, so we get to make the rules. Here's a famous electronic producer by the name of Moby, and here is his song, Porcelain.
This is good.
Awesome. That was the song Porcelain by Moby, which I believe came out in 2002. But up next, we have an important guest. We have someone who's been part of Waterford High School for many years. She's a science teacher. Her name is Miss Herr. How you doing, Miss Herr?
I'm doing well, Connor. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Thank you. And thank you for coming on Thursday. What were your reactions to Thursday's recording, or I should say Friday's show?
Well, I was a little disappointed that there weren't more people on it, but I know that it was at the same time as the Board of Ed meeting, and it was a little bit short notice, so I was surprised that there weren't more people who wanted to lend their voice to that, but I was really impressed with the people who were on. I don't know a whole lot of them, so a lot of them were at the elementary schools, but I thought that they were, very insightful, and I was really, glad that I got to listen to what they had to say.
Awesome. And again, thank you so much for coming on and joining that really important discussion that's really important to have right now. But let's focus on you real quick. Miss Herr, how has online teaching been for you?
Online teaching hasn't been the best environment. I think that, one of the best things about teaching is getting to see and interact with your students, and that really is lacking in a distance learning environment. I have live meets with my students, and even though you'll ask them to turn on their cameras, many of them have them off, and so you're just kind of looking at a black screen and talking, and that's really difficult as an educator where a lot of times I'm responding to feedback and I want to know, oh, that student doesn't understand what I'm saying, I need to go over that better, or, oh, we need to, explain this more because they don't have the background for that. But I can't get that feedback when I don't get to see my students, and it's hard to interact when, everyone's microphones are muted. And so that's been a little frustrating, but getting out the stuff to students, I've still been able to communicate with them. It's just the best parts of teaching are kind of not there.
Yeah, honestly, from all the teachers that Kara and I have interviewed, I've kind of gotten the same idea that everybody's kind of promoting, that it's just really not that fun, not that great. But let's go to more positive stuff real quick. You kind of described yourself to us as a rowing specialist. Why do you go by that title?
Um, I don't really go by that title. Mr. Cataract put the word specialist in there, and that really puts a lot of pressure on me, I think. I am a former rower. I rowed at Ohio State in college, and I've been a coach, a rowing coach. And then now currently my current position in rowing is that I'm a rowing assistant referee, which means that I'm one of the people who is in charge of safety and fairness on the water during rowing competitions. So I'm not really a specialist, but I am a rowing, I don't know, aficionado, knowledgeable person. Specialist seems a bit much, but
Well, I mean, to me, I'm gonna be honest with you, I know nothing about rowing, so to me, you are a rowing specialist. Um, this is kind of like a three-part question here, but what's D1 rowing like? Where'd you coach, and how do you become a ref?
okay, those are all good questions. First off, Division I rowing it's a lot. It's a stressful environment for sure. I had no idea what I was getting into. I was recruited off of campus. So the year that I started at Ohio State was the first year that they started the rowing program. If you know Title IX, Title IX basically says that in athletics there should be equal opportunities for both males and females to compete. And one of the ways that schools make equal opportunities for women, when football is really a male oriented sport and that has so many participants, is that they'll add a rowing program for women, and they will, because that's a large number sport. And so unfortunately a lot of male programs have stayed as club programs, but fortunately for women, they've benefited from having their rowing programs become varsity programs. So as a Division I athlete, I was recruited off campus, and there's actually 2 rowing seasons. There's one in the fall, which is a little bit longer, and one in the spring, which is a little shorter. It's very similar to cross country and track. And so there's 2 seasons rather than 1, which makes it a little bit more challenging, but I kind of thrive on that schedule and having something to do with my time. So that actually benefited me in school. And I was fortunate enough to do well in my career. I went to the first ever NCAA championships for college rowing.
Oh, wow.
My sophomore year. So that was a lot of fun, and just lots of great teammates and great successes there. So
That's
was
great.
a good experience.
Yeah, so in Ohio State, what I feel so ignorant saying this, but what body of water do you guys practice on?
That is actually a really great question, because there's a river that is right next to the Ohio State campus called the Olentangy, which we called the Oldentangy, because as you rode down it, you could see, for example, barrels of, hazardous waste. You could see, all manner of, things would float by. So it wasn't a great place to row, but when the program was started, that's where we rowed because it was on campus. They've actually moved to the Scioto River, which is a much larger river, but it's about 20 minutes off of campus now. And Ohio State has a beautiful boathouse now, which I am very jealous of because I never got to partake in some of those amenities. But I did have the benefit of just being able to roll out of my bed in my dorm and just go right outside my dorm, and that was where we practiced. So that probably was more beneficial to me than having the amazing boathouse that they currently do.
And I know you mentioned coaching and reffing as well. How long and where'd you coach for, and what's reffing like as a rower? I'm so oblivious to the sport. I feel bad. I don't really know enough to really ask a lot of more intelligent questions involving this.
No, these are great questions, and rowing is kind of one of those obscure sports. There are a lot of good programs around here. So once I finished my eligibility at Ohio State, I actually was a volunteer coach at Ohio State. As I was doing my master's in biology, I was a volunteer coach at University of Cincinnati, and then I moved to Albany. I moved and did some stuff for some random high schools, but most recently I've coached for NFA, and then I coached for Old Lyme. So I'm actually going to be doing some work with their Learn to Row program this summer, which starts June 22nd in Old Lyme. So that's kind of where I've been. As far as reffing goes, that's something that U.S. Rowing does to maintain, like I said, safety and fairness on the water. So I can do any sort of jobs. There's usually 5 positions that are along the race course in the spring. So you'll have someone who starts the race. You have someone who aligns to make sure that everyone is, starting from the same point. You have someone who follows the races down and makes sure that they are competing fairly. No one's, going into someone else's lane, or, you don't have someone fall in the water, which has happened. So you have a referee on the water for that. You have a finish line judge who looks at the boats as they cross the finish line. And then there's also the control commission that gets the rowers off the water and makes sure that they are safe and that they are not in any sort of, health peril at that time when they get off the water, to make sure that they're still, relatively with it when they get off the water.
Okay, it's great. Thank you so much for teaching me about rowing. I didn't think to learn about that today. And I know rowing's outdoors, you're on the water. You're also a science teacher as well. And you did mention us beforehand that we're now a green leaf school. What does that mean to you? And now how is that classified Waterford High School?
Yeah, so we are a green leaf school. We just got our green leaf certification as the pandemic finished off. We had a number of people who were working on the committee. This is a program run by the state that offers education grant money to schools that would like to improve how they're running their waste stream and their energy efficiency in the school building. Because we're a new school building, our energy efficiency is actually fairly good, but there's a lot of people who would like to see us do a little bit better with our recycling and with our waste efforts. So I want to just list a number of people who helped work on that team with me. Administrators, Mr. Hauser and Mr. Samuelson, special ed teacher, Ms. Perulis, family and consumer science teacher, Ms. Montanero, administrative assistant, Ms. Nancy Griffin, and then other science teachers, Ms. Castleberry, Ms. Antolini, Mr. O'Connor, Mrs. Poitras. They were all involved in doing the self-evaluation that's required to get green leaf status, and they worked very hard on that. There were a number of different aspects that were required to get that certification. We also had help from Food Services Director, Diane Herr. So I just wanted to give all of them recognition for the hard work that they did. And we managed to get the Greenleaf funding, the Greenleaf designation, which opens up funding, and we'll have a banner in the fall and a celebration, hopefully, that will let everyone know about it.
That's great. And, thank you for doing, kind of doing something about it. I know amongst students, there's kind of this joke that like the recycling bin doesn't really mean anything at Waterford High School. So hopefully that can actually mean something soon, and students can kind of become more aware of how to, make, their lives in school, a lot better for the environment. However,
that was our hope. That was our goal.
And that is a great goal to have, and I wish you the best of luck on that. That's going to be awesome. Miss Herr, thank you so much again for coming on for a second time in a week. That's like a record, I think. But yeah, Mr. Kyra and I have been very appreciative of you kind of being supportive as well. And one thing I do want to kind of close off our conversation with is, what are 2 things you're thankful for right now? And what's one thing you kind of miss about the regular world?
Oh, yeah. Those are great questions. First, I'm probably grateful for the weather. Even in March when we got out of school, we had those days that were warm enough to do things outside. So I appreciate being able to do that and get outside, get out of my house. So been really appreciative of the weather. The second thing's probably where I live. I am fortunate enough to have woods in my backyard. I have a creek back there. My daughters and I have been going hiking, and we found all sorts of critters, salamanders and frogs and some crayfish exoskeleton, which was cool. So those were definitely things that we're grateful for.
Awesome. And what's one thing I think that you're ready for when the world kind of gets back to normal?
And I don't know where that will be, but I'm looking forward to just being able to, I think Miss Chen said this at one point, giving people a hug and, saying hi to people and being able to, interact more on a personal level instead of doing it online, which is not really ideal.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm looking forward to finally interacting with people, safely again. Yeah. But Miss Herr, thank you so much for a great conversation and for teaching me a ton about rowing, as well as all the improvements that our school is doing. What's the song that you brought for us today?
This is, I believe, Too Much from Rusted Root. And I chose the song just because I listen to a lot of things where it's like, just relax, don't worry about all the stress, because a lot of times I feel like, there's a lot of things, expectations and things put on you, and you just need to relax. It'll be okay.
All right. All right, here's Rusted Root with Too Much. I'm excited to kind of relax. It's been a crazy couple of weeks. Miss Herr, thank you again.
Thank you.
Rest your head inside me now.
All right, that was Rusted Root and Too Much from Miss Diane Herr. We're so grateful for her to be here with us today. And Connor, you're not alone. I know nothing. I now know as much as you do about rowing. But having lived in Ohio for a couple of years, I lived up north near the Cuyahoga, and that river wasn't much better than the Olden Tangy that Miss Herr was talking about. Do you know? Have you been to the Rock Hall, Connor?
I have not. I have not had the pleasure of going to Ohio.
Take a step back, pump your brakes, son. When you talk about pleasures, I lived there for a couple of years because I had done something bad in a former life, and I had to pay some type of penance. The river that goes through Cleveland and goes south from Cleveland, at one point was, I think more than once, in fact, was on fire.
What?
Just wrap your head around that. It was a river that, and it's because is Miss Herr popping in? Miss Herr is about to pop in.
He said, "Watch it."
Oh, I'm sorry, Miss. I'm sorry. We got dissension in the chat room.
I'm confused. Two things. Why is the water on fire? And two, you can't just mention you having a previous life and not.
No. I think in a past life, like 1,000 years ago, I had done something wrong, and so I had to live in Ohio for a couple of years.
You're laying low from something.
Yeah, it was. But the River Cuyahoga, which have you ever heard the Pretenders song? I went back to Ohio.
I have, actually. It's a great song.
I lived in all those places. Cuyahoga Falls and or Seneca Falls and Cuyahoga and all that. I lived right around that area. In fact, I met a couple of people that said, "Oh yeah, the Hines lived down this way." In fact, I went to Kent State for a class at one point, but the river is surrounded by a whole bunch of factories that would just dump stuff, and they dumped so much stuff into it at one point that it was just toxic and caught on fire. So it's an odd place.
There you go.
It's an odd place. All right, but okay. More importantly, we have this list, and
that's right.
We want to finish up this list and give our respect to your wonderful class of 2020, Connor. So start us off.
Yeah. We have Riley Elizabeth Wilikowski,
Brandy Lynn Williams,
Beanie Yonga,
Connor Scott Yarmy,
Robert Joseph Zawacki,
and Sebastian F. Zagara. And you didn't even know that I had that, did you?
No.
I know. I like to surprise you once in a while. So congratulations. Well, hopefully on June 18th at Waterford Beach, I'm hoping to be there. I know that there's going to be limited amount of cars coming in. I think I might be helping out with the graduation. I don't know what I'll be doing, but I'll be doing something. And if nothing else, then are you going to be there? Are you going on June 18th?
I think I have to be there on June 18th. I don't know, though. I think it's June 18th. I don't know what time it is or when. It keeps changing. I saw recently. I'm not sure if I should mention this on air, but too bad. It's our show. I think people are trying to change it again. Look, just let me get my diploma, all right? It's I know it's all about the parents and the photos and the look what my kid did. But I mean, I just stop complaining. All right, like we've almost beat it through a deadly virus. Our country's currently sadly at a divide. However, more people are united than many would think. Just let our class get a diploma. It doesn't matter where it is. It doesn't matter what time it is. Just let it happen. You know what I mean? I don't know.
I am with you, Connor. I'm with you on that 100%. I just promised myself I wouldn't cry.
It's okay. It's okay. Don't worry. My mom is bringing you some Kleenex in case you need it. It's gonna be a sad day for everybody.
That's perfect. All right. We have continuing with our instrumental show. I think this is about the only time on the show that I can actually play the Pogues. This is from, I think this is their third album, If I Should Fall from the Grace of God. This is Metropolis. On the other side of this, we get to talk to our wonderful phys ed teacher, Ms. Megan Gwudz. Here are the Pogues. All right, that was the Pogues with Metropolis from their, what I think is their third album, If I Could Fall from the Grace of God. And with us here in the Quarantine Bunker studio, after long time, she was supposed to come on one time and something came up, but here we have Miss Megan Gwudz. Miss Gwudz, are you there?
I'm here. Hi.
Oh, we're so happy to have you here. How are you doing?
Great. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Beautiful day, great music. I mean, the stuff I picked, and some of Connor's. So I'm doing great. First of all, you put together that great website that we've had. I've posted it a couple of times on here. What's phys ed been doing during this whole quarantine thing?
Yeah, we made the website in the beginning, which ages ago, honestly.
It feels like 10 years ago, doesn't it?
Yeah. And we've added little bits and pieces to it. But we've been using that website. We also went more towards when we realized we weren't going back to school, the games that we play and activities that we do, with little study guides and Google Forms to fill out about rules and strategies, and videos for the kids to watch to learn about the games they would have been participating in if we were back at school, as well as the fitness component. So we tried to mix it up and just keep people interested. But I think we did a pretty good job. Overall.
Look, if you want like some type of a metric for how good you did, let me just tell you this. I bought a bike.
Awesome.
Yes, I bought a bike, and I've been going out. My girlfriend and I take walks. We go for like 1.5 miles, 2 miles. We have discovered waterfalls. We've discovered trails. We've discovered, because you in the phys ed department shamed us.
No, we did not shame you, but that's awesome to hear. I'm glad we could help.
Keep shaming him.
Keep shaming.
No. Mr. Walker is a very...
Oh, you just went out.
Oh, can you hear me now?
I can.
Sorry.
Go ahead. You were about to say something bad about Mr. Walker.
No, he bikes a lot.
Well, it's tough. It was tough getting one because suddenly everybody wanted one, and we were going nuts because we were like, no, we really want a bike, and then so we finally got one now.
I've heard that they're hard to come by.
Oh yeah. But we were happy, and we got, we get the hybrid, which is sort of like the mom jeans of bicycles.
No.
Well, it allows us to go on trails.
Yes.
For the most part, we stick to the road, or we stick to paved trails.
Yeah, that's a great bike to start with. That's a good start.
Yeah. So we've been happy with that. How's things at home? I know you have a husband who's extremely annoying, so I'm certain that's a challenge. What have things been like at the Gwudz house?
It's been pretty, I don't know how to describe it. My husband he's an assistant principal, so he was home for a while, working from home, which was, I don't know which is better, because then we have more meetings and more times that we have to keep our young children quiet and away from us. But now he's back at work, going in, and so it's a new type of crazy, because it's me trying to work with the kids, and they have Zoom meetings, I have Zoom meetings, we have schoolwork to do for me, for them. It's just it's been a little crazy, but we got through it, and I'm very happy that the weather is nice now. We spend a lot of time outside, because my kids are 6, 4, and 1.5. So we have to keep them busy, and being outside is the best way to do that.
Oh, I'm sure. I can't even imagine 6, 4, and 1.5. Oof.
They're busy, so we've gotten through it, though.
Miss Gwudz, can I chime in? One second, Mr. Cataract.
Go right ahead.
Miss Gwudz, I think you're my neighbor.
Yeah, and you've probably seen me walking by your house with the kids. We go to the little cove down the end of the road.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've seen you, and I'm like, what? I'm like, I think she lives.
I live on.
I'm not going to give out your address, obviously.
If there's a path.
Doxing.
Nope.
There's a path from my house to the turnaround, if that makes sense.
Okay, that makes sense. All right.
Yeah, and we're friends with the house on the turnaround, so we go down the path and use your ride bikes in the circle, and it works out good because my road's actually pretty busy and yours is not. So
Yes, 100%. Okay.
yeah,
I just need to
Yep.
clarify that. Sorry, Mr. Catter.
that's okay.
That's
That was
quite all
me.
right. We don't want anybody confused on this show, except for me. So I know that a lot of the students have already registered for classes for next year.
Yeah.
You said you've got some changes in store. Phys Ed has got some changes in store. Can you tell us
Yeah.
about them?
Yep, I'd love to. We put all this information in our newsletter and we sent it home to the kids, the parents, but it's still kind of confusing for everyone. What happened is the state changed the requirements for health and PE credits starting with the class of 2023, so this year's freshmen. Previously, before that, you were required to have a half credit of health and a full credit of PE. But they've changed it to add another half credit of health. So now you have to have one full credit of PE and one full credit of health, which means instead of requiring 2 PE classes and 1 health class, now we're requiring 2 PE classes and 2 health classes, if that makes sense.
A little bit, but it's the state, so it's a little bit
Right.
confusing, but that's fine. So what are you guys doing?
Well, we health class to fill that half credit. And all freshmen took it this year. It's for the freshmen. You receive a health credit, 0.5, and it's a semester course. And we're covering topics of first aid, CPR, health, fitness, and just basic personal wellness. So I kind of think of it as a hybrid class. Like we do some of the phys ed stuff that we've done in the past, but more towards the fitness side. And then we're covering like personal wellness, health, safety, and those kind of things. So starting with this year's freshmen, everyone will be required to pass that to graduate.
Oh, okay.
And then all of those students continue to take the health class with Ms. Baumgardner that they've always taken their sophomore year. And then for PE, we've changed it where in the past, everybody took freshman PE, sophomore PE, and those were the required classes. And then we offered electives if kids wanted to take those also in addition. But now what's happening is in your junior or sophomore year, you're taking like the traditional PE class, which people have previously taken freshman and sophomore year. And then for your second PE class, it's now an elective choice. So you're going to get to pick from a variety of classes what you would like to take as your second PE course before you graduate, by the time you graduate.
Oh, okay.
If that makes sense. I know I'm trying to explain it the best way I could, but
Well, that's cool. Are you looking forward to September? Are you looking forward to the changes in the curriculum?
yeah, because we've added a lot of cool classes that I think
Like what?
they're more geared towards what the students may be interested in rather than just everything is it. I think they'll like it. We've added a lifetime fitness and dance class, and that's going to cover like different fitness programs, a lot of them, and dance and movement, which we haven't really done much of that in the past. So we're happy to offer something like that. It's also going to be a partnership in some way with the Eugene O'Neill Theater. We haven't really met and figured all that out yet, but they've reached out and said they want to be a part of it. So that's one of the new classes.
Wow, that sounds really cool.
Yep, an aquatics class. So that will be in the pool every day that you have PE, which I'm sure some people would not look forward to, but there are kids that do enjoy going to the pool. And we'll do basic swimming strokes, and then a bunch of just aquatic games. We make up some activities that you can do in the pool or on land. I think that's going to be a fun class for people that enjoy going swimming. We changed adventure PE a little bit to add, we do all the project adventure stuff, but we're also going to be using the kayaks in the pool, go hiking. So we added a few more choices to the curriculum for that.
Wow. That's not, this won't come as a surprise. I hated PE in high school. But, those type of things, I think you're right. I think they, I would not be signing up for the pool, but you're right. There's kids that would absolutely love that. If I may say, dive right in. Thanks. You can write that one down. You'll be using that. But, I think that's awesome. It's like, I'm not interested in, I've never been very good at team sports. And there's a good reason for that. Has something to do with my eyes.
Yeah.
But, I like going hiking. I like going for long walks. And, I travel a lot, and one of my favorite things is getting up in the morning, getting a local map, and going to some place that I've never been before and walking around. And I remember, Mr. Ash and I used to do all these trips, and I remember my sister went on one, and she had whatever that app is, that a pedometer app.
Yep.
And we were going through Italy, and she said at the end of the trip, she said on average we did about 12 miles a day.
Yeah.
Of walking.
That's awesome.
But I could care. It's like, that's great. I don't care. If in Italy, I'll walk for 12 miles a day. It's no problem. That's awesome.
So we're just trying to find something that everybody is interested in, and you get to make the choice yourself. So we're hoping the students should enjoy it.
Well, no. I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
So, all right. So tell me, what's coming up next. We're looking for, what are two things that you're grateful for despite the situation that we're in?
Okay. One thing I'm grateful for is my neighborhood. Where we live, we have a few friends close by, and it's really helped with our kids. Of course, we've been practicing social distancing and all that, but just for like my 4-year-old daughter has a friend from her class that lives behind us, so they've been able to still see each other, and it's made a huge difference. Just having the kids be able to see other kids. I don't know what we would do if they weren't able to play outside together, and it's made a big difference having good people around us that we can go for walks and see, and it's just been really helpful.
Yeah, I'm sure.
The other thing is, right before all this happened, and this is kind of what Miss Herr was talking about, my husband decided that he really wanted to get a rower for our house, like a rowing machine to work out on.
Sure.
And we bought it, and it's thank goodness we have it, because we've been able to use it fitness wise. But rowing, the machine, it's like the best fitness machine I've ever been on in my life. It's the best. Like I can't even explain what it's so simple, and you get such a good workout. It's cardio and muscular strength. Like it's awesome. So I can see why Miss Herr enjoys rowing so much. I wish I could do it on the real water, maybe someday. But those are two things I'm thankful for.
And what are you looking forward to? I guess rowing right now.
It's better than nothing. But
what are you looking forward to?
I'm really looking forward to just not being nervous about going anywhere, making sure I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do to keep my family safe and everyone around me safe. Just because I'm just so nervous about it, that you don't. So I'll be happy when I don't have to be worked up about going to the grocery store or, stuff like that.
No, I'm completely with you on that. It adds to that stress because there's so many question marks.
Yeah,
there's just so many question marks.
Right, like we just order everything and don't go anywhere. So hopefully soon we can try to venture out into the world and not be so worried about it.
Yeah. Well, what did you bring for us to play today?
Oh, I mostly listen to country music except when I'm at school and my students put on whatever station they want while we're playing our games. But I picked this song by Luke Bryan, Play It Again. Number one, because it's an awesome song and I like it. But the second reason being it really brings back memories for me, and I think it might for other people my age and older, just like sitting around the radio with your cassette tape ready to hit record when your favorite song would start playing, and so you could have it. And
yes.
Like it was so much harder to access music when I was younger. I mean, you could buy the tape or buy the CD, but it was just very different than what it is now. So,
and then the DJ would always talk over the intro.
Yeah, or you'd like miss the beginning, or the tape would run out and you miss the end, and then there'd be commercials. It was just different. But so it makes me laugh when I hear this song and think about that.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Ms. Gwudz, for stopping by to talk to us after all this. After long last, this is Luke Bryan, Play It Again.
Thanks for having me.
She was sitting all alone over on the tailgate, tan legs swinging by a Georgia plate. I was looking for her boyfriend, thinking no way she ain't got one. Soon as I sat down, I was falling in love, trying to pour a little sugar in her Dixie cup, talking over the speakers in the back of that truck. She jumped up and cut me off. She was like, oh my God, this is my song. I've been listening to the radio all night long, sitting around waiting for it to come on, and here it is. She was like, come here boy, I wanna dance. Before I said a word, she was taking my hand, spinning me around till it faded out, and she gave me a kiss, and she said, play it again, play it again, play it again. And I said, play it again, play it again, play it again. I'd have gave that DJ my last time if he would have played it just one more time. But a little while later we were sitting in the driving my truck. Before I walked her to the door, I was scanning like a fool, AM, FM, XM too. But I stopped real quick when I heard that groove. Man, you should have seen her light up. She was like, oh my God, this is my song. We've been listening to the radio all night long. I can't believe that it came back on, but here it is. She was like, come here boy, I wanna dance. For I said a word, she was taking my hand, spinning in the headlights. She gave me a good night kiss, and I said, play it again, play it again, play it again. And she said, play it again, play it again, play it again.
And that was Luke Bryan, Play It Again, given to us by Ms. Megan Gwudz, PE teacher at Waterford High School and long-suffering wife of former history teacher at the high school, Mr. Greg Gwudz. How you doing, Mr. Gwudz? Just a shout out to him. That was awesome. We have a couple of things about Lancers that are doing fundraisers. We want to get to that right now. So first one up, Mr. Tom Ryan, who was on the show a couple of weeks ago as our Star Wars specialist. Mr. Ryan is the advisor for the Waterford High School Key Club. And I'm going to read just a little bit from the GoFundMe page. It says, this year has been challenging for many with COVID-19 impacting many families and businesses. Waterford High School's Key Club would like to help those in need by raising money for 4CT, the Connecticut COVID-19 Charity Foundation, through a basket raffle. You can help by entering the raffle with all the proceeds going to the 4CT Foundation. So I'll put the link in the comments as usual. And you can buy tickets for the raffle baskets. All the things have been donated. There is a one basket for hair care, and there's one basket with dinner and a movie that gives you gift certificate to Outback and Chili's and some candy. There's I think there's like 3 or 4 different baskets. You can buy tickets. I think tickets go for $2 each. But, you know, put a crowbar into your wallet, open it up, and like I said, check out the link. Lancer Library Radio has already donated. Connor and I are looking for the hair care products.
100%.
Exactly. All right. What do you got for us, Connor?
Yeah, so we have 2 big things going on in the community right now. One thing is from Junior Eric Carlson. He's currently doing a GoFundMe. That's obviously an honor for, to help support the Black Lives Matter movement. And his cause for that this is what he wrote. I'm inviting you to a virtual poetry slam to be held on June 20th from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. via Zoom. Here you can choose either to write your own poetry or simply listen to others' poems. I think that this will be a great way to bring the community together in order to support an urgent cause. Everyone is welcome to participate. There is no writing experience necessary, so I hope to see as many people as possible. No donation is required to come to the meeting, but it's definitely encouraged. It's a great thing that Eric's doing. Another thing as well, also, Mr. Cartwright, if you could put that GoFundMe link in our comment section as well, that'd be great.
I'll make certain to do that.
Oh, for sure. And another thing is from Student Resource Officer Dan Lane's Instagram. Extraordinary Oswegatchie School's 5th graders. Today, our first selectman and chairman accepted a $1,000 check from the 5th grade students of Oswegatchie School, who had to forego the money they raised for their end-of-the-year celebrations and instead gave it to the Interfaith Food Locker to feed the hungry. We rise by lifting others. Thank you for reminding us, Oswegatchie 5th graders.
Yeah, that was a great post. I just happened to see that today. So, and Oswegatchie's principal was on the show, I don't know, in the early 90s. Mr. Joe Macrino, great guest, and couldn't be prouder of the 5th graders that gave up all of the money that they earned for that. So we'll put those links in the comments section. And right now, Connor, you've never heard all of this song, have you?
Nope.
Okay, so this is your first time. I want you to imagine, if you can, Deep Purple and Queen having a child that can't sing. And this would be the result. I don't know. Go ahead.
So I should expect like very large, ugly hair, bohemian style dress, and just bad teeth.
All those things, and great musicianship. Great. You're missing the point. Never mind. All right. So if you were driving around in the late 70s, early 80s, this definitely came on the radio and everybody played it very loudly. as soon as Connor suggested instrumentals, this immediately came to mind. This is the Edgar Winter Group with Frankenstein. Oh, it's going to do that to me. I had this thing all set up. All right, we're going to try this one more time. Hold on just a minute.
What show number is this?
Yeah. Quiet, child. I'm sorry. You're no longer a child. You're a graduate. My friend. Quiet, my friend. All right, here it goes. One more time. The Edgar Winter Group, Frankenstein. That was exhausting. All right. Now do you understand what I said when I said Deep Purple and Queen? It was like, this is like glam rock meets jazz.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, that was a big clash of styles. I did enjoy that song.
That was, well, and there you go. That's why it's Frankenstein. And Edgar Winter, I think, plays half. There's a clip on YouTube of him doing this live in a, I can't remember. It was like a pre-video video. And he's like, there's 2 drum sets set up, so he's supporting the drummer, and then he's on the Moog synthesizer, which was a big deal. And yeah, it was just crazy. All right, we're almost out of here. Let's see. We need to remind people that there is a protest in Waterford on Sunday, June 14th at 12:30. And you're solid with those times?
Yes, those times are correct. Absolutely.
All right. So Connor and I will both be there, and then we have our fundraisers. Please check those out. Please support the work of other people. There's a lot of good work being done out there, let's see. And wait a minute. What was that? A chat just came through. Oh, I see. And let's see, upcoming shows. Friday.
Yes.
Friday we have Ms. Lisa Virtue, history teacher, and your punching bag, Mr. Tim Fioravanti.
Yes, that punching bag is actually at my house right now for a senior gift. So when the song comes on, I'll sadly leave. So
no, that's no worries. Monday is Ms. Gay Collins, English and English teacher, and Nehemia Calix, senior at the high school. We'll be revisiting them. They were our first guests. And then Wednesday is the last show. Connor and I will be interviewing each other. So look, folks, seriously, we'd love to hear from you. What questions do you want us to ask each other? It's our last show. We don't know what else is going to happen, but tears will be shed, and God knows what else. All right, Connor, what are you taking us out with?
So one of my favorite rappers is a guy named Freddie Gibbs. He just dropped a new album last week. It's one of my favorite albums of this year so far. And he's famous for having collaborative albums with one producer as a whole. And one of those guys that he's used is a guy named Madlib. Madlib is also famous, like Jay Dilla, for taking a lot of Blue Note records and a lot of old jazz records from the 50s, 60s, and 70s and kind of transforming them for a more modern sound. If I had to make a top 10 records of all time list, Madlib probably falls in there twice. One with an album with a guy named MF Doom called Mad Villainy. Go give it a listen, as well as one called Pinata. And here's an instrumental off Pinata with a song called Thuggin'. It's a great instrumental. It's beautiful. It's relaxed. So
give my regards to Mr. Fioravanti. Connor, we'll talk to you on for the next show. And thanks for listening. Here's Freddie Gibbs and Madlib, Thuggin'.